Welcome to another video by Shadowrun.
Welcome back, friends. I'm Daedalus, Shadowrun's AI, and I'll be your host for this video. In this video I will be covering tips and tricks that you can use to become a better Night of the Dead player. In this video, we'll be taking a look at things like how to enable the sandbox, how to stack building modules, how to build a looping element into your base, ways to deal with giants, using a bait trap to be completely ignored, building a box to help catch birds, building a gap that zombies won't cross, and more. Shadowrun has been here since the beginning. He is one of the game's original beta testers. He wrote the best guide for the game, which you will find the link to in the description of this video. In the guide, you can find maps and other useful images and information to help you along the way. He's been so active in the development of this game for more than 3 years that he earned a place in the game's credits. So get ready to learn from one of the masters of this game, as we embark on a journey to making you a better Night of the Dead player. First, let me show you how to enable the sandbox mode in case you want to cheat. The sandbox can allow you to be invincible, build, craft and drive for free, do research for free, fly through walls, recharge all your batteries, unlock all buildings, advance time forward, and start a wave immediately. In order to enable the sandbox, let's first make sure you have a key set to enable the console. Go into your game settings, then select Controls. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will find the input for opening the console. Once you know what key to press it in-game to open the console input bar at the very bottom of your screen. Type the word sandbox in there, then press enter. Then, when you press escape back to the main menu, you will notice a new button there named Sandbox. If you press the button, a prompt will pop up asking if you want to enable the sandbox. Clicking yes will enable it on your game. Once you enable the sandbox, you will no longer be able to get achievements in that game, unless you roll back to a previous save file. If you are doing this on a dedicated server, then you need to make sure that you set an administrator password in your configuration file. Then you need to log in as the admin on your server. The user interface may have changed a little since this video was recorded, but the process remains the same. Once you have typed your password and entered admin mode, you can then follow the sandbox enabling process like normal. Next, I want to talk about using a bait trap to be ignored by the zombies. Usually when the zombies drop in on you for the wave, they drop in just at the edge of your view and target you first. They will run to you until coming within range of a bait trap, then they switch to targeting the bait trap. Now, in some situations this won't be what you want, but in some situations it's exactly what you want. Try adding and removing a bait trap from your base to see the difference, if one is even noticeable. Now I want to show you how to stack some modules. You can stack all kinds of things in this game, from storage boxes and batteries, to crop farms and mortar cannons. First, let's take a look at those storage boxes. The game has made it easy to stack things now. All you need to do is have the object snapping feature enabled most of the time. You can start by placing the first box down at a seam. It should snap into the floor and align itself automatically with the building seam. Then you can snap more boxes right beside it. But that's the easy part. Once you have a row of boxes, you need to turn the snapping off and carefully place a half floor on top of the boxes. Once you place the first floor piece, you can turn the snapping back on and snap more floor pieces to it. Once you have a layer of floor pieces on top of your layer of boxes, you can then snap more boxes in on top for a second row of boxes. This process can be repeated for a third layer of boxes that will fit inside of a building. You can do the same thing to stack batteries, but batteries can also be stacked using just beams. Simply touch a battery to a beam to attach to it. You can also stack farm plots, so close together that the crops overlap. Drones can still get in there and you can still farm them yourself. Crop farms attach well to columns. Simply attach the corner of a crop farm to a column and you can stack them like this. You can also stack wind turbines on top of solar panels if you use beams. Turbines stand real well on beams. Simply build a beam and column frame first, then build the solar panels on both sides of it. The turbines can be built on top now, and you even have room for batteries inside the solar array. The last thing we're going to be stacking are mortar cannons, but you don't have to stop there. All kinds of things can be stacked, including a lot of the turrets. In order to stack mortar cannons, we need a beam. One beam can support up to 3 cannons. If you want to stack more cannons, then increase the beam height. Using this method you could build walls of mortar cannons that don't just fire a single shot, but fire volleys of mortar at incoming enemies. This example was built onto a truck so that it would be mobile. The next thing Shadowrun wants me to show you is how to catch birds in a farming way rather than having to go out and hunt them. You can build what Shadowrun calls a bird box. This box should be narrow, only 2 tiles wide, but it can be as long as you want. The walls should be at least 2 tiles high and there should be no roof. Leave the roof open. Inside you can line up the bird feeders along both walls. Above the feeders, place barricade traps all around the room. Normally birds will spawn on top of the feeders. When they try to fly away, they collide with the barricades and die. You can come collect the bodies or set up drones to do it for you. The next trick I'm going to show you is how to build a gap that you can cross with a vehicle but zombies won't cross it. This is useful when you want some sort of gate or barrier you can easily cross but zombies will not. We stumbled upon this design seeking such a barrier. In order to build a good gap it should be 1 tile wide. We usually put a beam down the middle of it and leave it at that. Just make sure that both sides don't connect to create a zombie path across. You can easily cross this on foot or in an APC or motorbike, but because of the width, the zombie pathing is broken so they will not follow you across. This method works best when you have a maze separating the outside from an enclosed area. The zombies will go around through the maze now to get to you once you crossed over the gap. Now, let's have a look at some truly bizarre vehicle building. Usually I simply flip the vehicle upside down and build turrets on it. That way when I right the truck up, the turrets will be mounted upside down. Another trick you can sometimes do is to build a gantry to hold a truck and crash it into there very carefully. If you're lucky, you can have a sideways truck to build on. This will allow you to be able to place things like sideways plasma shockers. This trick is very hard to perform and is not for the faint of heart. If you can master this trick however, then you can come up with some truly amazing builds like this APC created by Velhart in Shadow Realm Game 6. If you ever decide to build a boat in the game, then you will probably want to be able to board it with vehicles and even build a maze on it to handle the wave at night. All of these things are possible, but first you're going to want a pier built on land to dock to. Building a pier is simple once you know the measurements. I discovered that to get the correct height you want to start your pier build with a half column built right at the shoreline, where the water meets the land. Make sure you rotate the column to face the way you want the pier to face, because we're going to use this little column as the center of our pier. Simply build out a framework, keeping the first piece as the center. You can build the pier as wide and as long as you want. If you plan to have zombie traffic over it, then make sure it has a solid base that's anchored at more than one place. If you destroy the original column, you can destroy the entire poorly constructed pier. When building on top of a boat, be sure to never completely cover the hatch door. Otherwise you may not be able to disembark on top of the boat once you enter it. Your character will continually exit directly into the water. Usually I build a floor like this to cover the hatch door, but a sliver of it remains visible. This is enough to circumvent the problem of disembarking into the water. Before we reach the end of the video, I want to talk about how to build a looping element into your maze. A looping element is where we run the critters through a handful of traps, then kick them back out of the maze to have to do it all over again. Traps that can help you achieve a loop are the pendulum, the pusher, the treadmill, and the trap floor. Let's say a healthy critter on really hard difficulty requires 1,000 guillotine traps to kill. Now you could build 1,000 guillotines, or you could build 10 guillotines with a reliable looping element. Now instead of needing to power 1,000 traps, you only have to power a handful. Rather than trying to execute one critter on one run through the maze, we rely on running the critter through the same traps over and over. If you want to loop giants, you need to make sure your building is 3 tiles high, and that you don't use any height limiting traps like the pendulum or the guillotine. Try to stick to spike floors, cutters, plasma shockers, and turrets when dealing with giants. The multi-rocket launcher works great against giants. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.